Hello again. This is Iris Fairfax for episode 3 of Buddha Bites. A few weeks ago, my sister and I were taking a train trip out of town. It was a miserable day. It was raining cats and dogs, and we were about to get on a train after not being that close to people for quite some time. And I was feeling a little low on energy, so I thought I would get something to boost my immune system, make me feel a little bit more energized. So I got this ginger shot in a sandwich shop. Now this is a little over 3 ounces, and it says that it is cold pressed ginger and apple. This little bottle cost me about $4. Well, I make a really nice ginger brew that I drink just about every day, and the cost for me to make that one ginger brew is the same or less than to buy this one little bottle. So let's go into the kitchen and see what we can do with ginger together. Raw ginger is a great thing to keep around. It doesn't really cost that much. It might cost about maybe under $2 to get a whole bunch of it. It is notoriously difficult to handle. I can help demystify this a little bit. It comes in what's called a hand, and you can probably tell why they call it a hand. But it has all of these little nooks and crannies that you have to deal with, and I can make it a little bit easier for you. First of all, I'm going to pull out, not my chef's knife, but I like this knife. It's called a nakiri. It is a Japanese style knife. It has a thinner blade, and it's wonderful for very specific applications like vegetables and when you want to get a really nice precise cut. What you want to do anytime you're using a sharp knife, anytime you use a knife, it really should be a sharp knife, you want to get yourself a flat surface as soon as possible. So I'm going to cut this in half, but then there's some peeling that has to happen. So I just take a regular kitchen peeler. I peel whatever I can. You see? I'm not going to be able to get into all the spots, but I'm going to do as much of the easy work with the peeler as I possibly can. And this looks about all I can do with the vegetable peeler. So I'm going to get these peelings a little out of the way. Now, what you do, once you've gone as far as you can go with a peeler, is you get yourself a spoon. Now, a spoon actually has a sharp enough edge that you can go in and scrape away some of these parts that are hiding from you with the kitchen knife, with the potato peeler actually. And we do as much as we can with the spoon. You see how easy this is? To get into those nooks and crannies that you could not get with the peeler. And basically what we have, after just a few moments, is ginger that is almost entirely peeled. And the rest, don't even worry about it. Kiss it to God and go on with your life. So we're going to, again, have as flat a surface as we possibly can. This has a little bit of wobble to it. So I am going to secure this on either side. See how flat I can get my surface. That looks like a good, nice, solid foundation for me to cut and not let the knife slip and I hurt myself. So I'm making essentially like matchsticks. Again, don't be a hero with this. If you're feeling unsafe, stop. But this will give you a nice thin cut. And with these matchsticks, you can actually make a fine dice. So I'm going to take the matchsticks, I'm going to turn them, and very carefully, with the claw that we have talked about before, make fine dice. And while I'm doing that, I will not be looking at you. I'm going to pay attention to nothing but the knife and my fingers. And look at what we have. We have a very nice dice of ginger that we can make something with. Now, this has been on my refrigerator for some time. It is a recipe for ginger syrup. It's very simple and it's great to have around all the time because you can make soda out of it, and you can make you can actually macerate your fruit with it. Macerating is just letting the juices come out of your fruit with an added flavor of ginger. So this ginger syrup is really nice to do. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but I'm going to tell you about it. So you do equal parts of sugar and water with actually, this recipe says 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of water. And to that, just a 1/4 cup of chopped ginger. That's all you need. So what I did was I chopped up a whole lot of it before you came because I didn't want to bore you. And I put it in this pot, just those equal amounts of sugar and water and diced cubes of ginger. I let it heat to boiling, and then once it boiled, I shut off the heat and I let it cool. So what you end up with is this syrup here. It's a wonderful golden syrup, which I will then strain for later. And then we are going to use this toward the end. Now, wherever I found this, I don't even remember where I found it, this recipe. It stopped at the making of this delicious syrup. Look at this. A gorgeous, gorgeous ginger syrup. But it left behind all of this ginger, which has now been candied. Now, what am I supposed to do? Throw it away? No. What I decided to do was to keep it for when I had my mixed fruit, say, for instance. This is already seasoned, and so I can take my fruit and jazz it up a little bit with this ginger that I have candied. It's delicious, and there's no waste. Now, on to the ginger brew. So we're going to take some of this that I demonstrated with, and I'm going to add it to all of this that still needs to be cut. Now, you don't need to be fancy about this. You don't even need to worry about peeling it, because this ginger is going to be boiled. It's going to be simmered. It's going to be brought to a boil and simmered for about 40 minutes. So you just want, this is going into the food processor first. So all you want to do is to give it an initial cut so that the food processor doesn't have to do as much work. Again, please be very careful of your hands. And please don't think that a sharp knife is dangerous. A sharp knife is safer than a dull knife. This is something that I've been trying to tell my mother for years. You do not want a dull knife. You want the sharpest knife that you can possibly find, but you want to be smart about how you use it. Again, I'm securing it when the foundation is a little wobbly for me. I'm securing it on both sides. And you see, these cuts that I'm making in this ginger are, oh, maybe about 1 inch. But you don't have to be married to that particular measurement. So we're just going to chop up the rest of this and try not to bear down too much on your knife. Just one thing I learned from Rachel Ray, of all people, was the expression, I'm going to run my knife through this. That's really all you want to do. You want your knife to do the work. Done. Now, this is called a bench knife. It does not look like a knife, or a bench scraper. And this is tremendously helpful in moving ingredients from one place to another. You may remember Old Faithful, the Cuisinart that will not die. So I'm going to take all of this, put it in the food processor. This would be so much slower if I just used my knife to get this done. This is a great extension of my hand, this bench scraper. Okay, ready to go. We're going to whir this around for just a little bit. Essentially until you hear the sound change. You hear that little hum? Okay, so you see how this is pretty well pulverized in here. So we're gonna, ooh, goodness, the smell of this ginger, it's so strong. So I am holding on to the blade with my middle finger. We're gonna take this over to our pot. And we are gonna empty this pulverized ginger. Remember that we didn't even have to worry about washing, peeling, any of that, because this is gonna be boiled and strained. And if you hear me sounding funny, it's the vapor of this wonderful, strong, super fresh ginger doing its thing. This is like medicine, but in a good way. So we're going to put this in the pot. We're going to get rid of the pot. We are going to add 6 cups of water. That's 2 right there. And here is the remaining 4. We're going to turn this on sort of a medium high, covered, and we're going to wait till it comes to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to ace deuce the lid a little bit, and we're going to let it simmer for 40 minutes. This is going to smell your whole house of ginger, which I happen to think is a wonderful thing. But since we don't have 40 minutes right now, in my homework, I already made some that is cooled and ready to go. So this is what it ends up looking like. And this is the base of the ginger brew that we are going to make right now. So we will demote the food processor, and we will promote, hopefully without tipping anything over, a bowl and a sieve. Now this is a lemon ginger brew, so you need lemon for it. Now, I'm going to teach you a little trick about getting the most out of your lemon. The juice, when it's cold, the lemon will not yield as much juice. This is what you can do. Just pop it into your microwave for about 10 seconds, maybe even a little bit less. A warm lemon will release more juice when you go to squeeze it. And that is 10 seconds. So it's not going to make it too hot. It's a little bit warmer, but you will see that it will yield more juice for you. I roll it on the surface to release more juice, but we are going to be using lemon zest. And you want to zest a lemon before you juice a lemon. If you try to do it the other way around, it's just going to be really difficult. I like my microplane, but this thing is no joke. It is extremely sharp. I have cut myself with a microplane. Please be so careful of your knuckles with this. I love this one because it has these little feet that it'll hold it a little bit more steady on your surface while you zest. So you want to zest maybe about, maybe about 3 lemons. You want the full zest of maybe 3 or 4 lemons. And when you zest, you want to stop at the pith. That is this white part here. You don't want that. That's bitter. Where the flavor is this actual beautiful lemon skin, lemony skin. So I have, again, done my homework and zested a lot. So here is the zest of 4 lemons. So we are going to take this, we're going to put it directly in the bowl. We're not going to try to sieve it through. This is good to have in your system. It's good to ingest this, and it's fine enough that when you drink it, it's not like you're going to feel like you're, sucking down lemon skin. So that goes in the bowl. And then we will juice our lemon, which is ready to be juiced right now. Now, you can use one of these if that's all you have. This is perfectly fine. In fact, I'll do this now. I'm doing this through the sieve to try to catch any seeds. See? You'll get at least 1 seed. Who knows? You never know. It depends on the lemon, and you never can tell. I also have this wonderful citrus juicer, and I have juiced most of the lemon juice that I need, but I just wanted to show you how quickly this will go if you use a citrus juicer. Bingo. And then you can tip the rest in, and the seeds stayed here. So we are done with this. We are done with this. So this will go into the bowl with the zest. We're done with this. And we will take our ginger, which has been boiled and simmered and cooled. Now this we will sieve right through. Now this is precious, and we worked awfully hard to get it that way. So we want to get as much of our juice out of it as possible. Now you're not going to reuse this because it has the skins and all of that. This has been sacrificed in the name of our ginger brew, and we've gotten all the flavor that we can out of it. So this will go in your compost. I'd say we have a decent amount. And we have one more thing to add. We have honey to add to this. So I like to use raw honey. I can't always find it, but in fact, this time I couldn't find raw. What I did find was a wildflower honey. That was nice. So since this is open, I'm going to use that. But this recipe is equally good with a good maple syrup, and there are health benefits to using a maple syrup. So this is a wonderful option. And if that's all you happen to have in the house, that's great. Not that pancake syrup, not that. Organic if possible, but maple syrup. But we're not going to use that this time. I'm just letting you know. So this was about a cup of lemon. And to that, I think I'm going to add about maybe 3/4 of a cup of this honey. Woo! And you want to wipe this off because you don't want to have a problem when you go to open this again. Now, the honey is going to melt into this mixture. You see, you don't even really see it now. And that's it. This is ready to be poured into a container. But again, with the swap outs, I already have a container that I already made. So this is what it looks like when it's in the container. And you always have to shake it up because the contents do settle, as they say. Let's do some stuff with this. So you remember this little $4 jobby? Let's make my version. So my ginger brew, just a little glug. Whoop, glug. I'm gonna keep that on top off because we'll be using that. And this one actually had cold pressed apple juice, which I actually thought was a good idea. So I happened to have some apples on hand and I have a cold pressed juicer. So I made my own cold pressed apple juice, thinking it might be a good idea. So $4, pennies. So off with this. This is so good. And you can also put this in your smoothies in the morning. It's you can put it in your tea. It's, you know, anybody who likes tea with lemon and honey, it's in there plus the ginger. So it's versatile in that regard. Now let's get a little bit more fancy. Let's do a ginger soda. So I have some ice here. I have a Soda Stream, which I love. I use this thing all the time. It's great and it saves you so much money. You just use your own filtered water and you put some bubbles in it with the Soda Stream. You have yourself a club soda that you can use for your cocktails or your soft drinks. In this case, I'm going to take that golden ginger syrup that we made and make this soda. Now you see why I double, triple, quadruple the recipe when I do this most of the time. So this is better than any ginger ale you will buy in the store. It's so good. It's kind of a cross between a ginger ale and a ginger beer. It doesn't quite have the kick of a ginger beer, but it has that gorgeous ginger flavor. This is so delicious. I'm not going to drink it right now. I'll just set it down and move to the next thing. Maybe you want to do a soda with the actual ginger brew that we made, which I do quite a bit. And sometimes I add a little bit of a spirit to it depending on the time of day. So here's just the ginger brew. And top it off with a little bit of this seltzer that I made. So that's that. 2 different non-alcoholic options. We will bookend this. And a couple of interesting ones that do have alcohol. Back in the Prohibition era, someone came up with a recipe to mask the horrible taste of bathtub gin. And they created what's known as the bee's knees. It is with gin. Ooh, I love the smell of gin. Now, of course, this is not bathtub gin by any means. I love Bombay Sapphire. Just choose your favorite one. Plus, the bee's knees is made with a honey syrup, but of course we have our enhanced honey ginger lemon syrup, and we will pop the top on this. I bought this shaker because I thought it was adorable. It's a little small for most of the cocktails that I like to drink. So you shake, shake, shake. Of course, you see how cold it is on the outside. So you want to get this as icy cold as you can and take a lovely, this is a coupe glass. Love it. And we'll pour this in. Now, of course, if I were a professional bartender, I would be fired if I didn't do actual measurements. But I was looking at the measurements of this recipe. I just couldn't deal with 2 ounces of this, 1.5 ounces of that. I just can't do that. So we will garnish this one with a lemon twist. And that is the bee's knees. I always think about my teacher who passed away a few years ago. Ellen used to call me the bee's knees. So every time I hear the bee's knees, I think about my teacher who I loved. So that's for somebody later who likes gin. Finally, this is one of my favorite cocktails for, especially when I'm really not feeling that well. There was a drink that I was introduced to by a colleague of mine called the Gold Rush. And the Gold Rush is basically like, if you've ever heard of a hot toddy, well, let's just call this a cold toddy. And we'll start off the same way as the bee's knees. We'll get some ice in here. Move this out of the way for a moment. And we will take whiskey or rye, brown liquor. When I say brown liquor, I don't mean rum or anything like that. I mean, ultimately, do what you like. There we go. There we go. And I do about 1, 2, 3, 4 counts of my spirit. I feel it in my spirit. And add some of this fantastic brew. And I really think that this is possibly going to be more than one cocktail, but you know me by now. I'm not drinking alone, so drinking alone can sometimes be a little bit depressing. And sometimes it can be quite relaxing, but this time I won't be drinking alone. So this is my ginger Gold Rush. Shaky, shaky, shake. My hand is awfully cold, so it's about that time. Look at this. Yeah, this is more than one drink. And why don't we garnish that with a lemon wedge? So we have quite a few options with our ginger beverages that we've made, including just a shot for medicinal purposes, all the way down to a glug for medicinal purposes from the alcoholic side of things. So which one shall I choose? This is awfully festive. So hopefully you'll take some of these ideas that I've given you and you'll come up with some more of your own. I would love to see what you do with ginger brews. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you've done with this. This is Iris Fairfax for Buddha Bites. You're the Buddha. Treat yourself like one. Cheers.